Hello and welcome back to the 12th Man podcast. Today, joining me, you may not know him by face, but you would definitely know him by his writing. I would argue that this gentleman joining me today is arguably one of the best writers that the Aston Villa content creation scene has had. James, let me compliment you. James Rushton, how the devil are you, buddy?
I'm all the better for hearing that, Ty. It's a really nice compliment coming from you. Always respected what you do. We've always had a laugh and a lot of fun. We always speak in private as well, don't we?
We do.
So it's nice to actually do something with you. Like that's not just bantering and having a laugh. We do something serious today. But yeah, I got to pay the compliments back. Got to pay the compliments back, mate. You've hit the ground running, haven't you? You really took off.
I'm trying, mate. I'm trying. I'm enjoying the podcast life, but it's I'm not really bothered about just enjoy. The thing is with Twitter, there's only so much you can say on Twitter without, there's a fine line between getting your point across in a tweet, but then something just being absolute paragraphs of stuff. So I just find it's easier to talk about it on camera. So then I'd find I had a year away, and then I found I'd have the bug to go on someone's podcast, and then I need to bother the boys and say, can you get me on? Can you get me on? I want to talk Villa. And then I was like, do you know what? Let's just do it on my own. So yeah, here we are. You are, I don't know what guest number you are. I think you're like 3 or 4. I think I'm like 10 episodes in now. So I think this is episode 11. So we're recording this nice and early on a Saturday morning. It's 9:12 a.m. But I'll be uploading this straight away afterwards. So James, Villa's window so far, obviously, you went to Istanbul. I was on FaceTime to you, but you couldn't hear me. If memory serves me correct, I think I FaceTimed you at some daft time around the streets of Istanbul. So, obviously, after the season ended, we've come off a high. Everything's been quiet. World Cup's kept us entertained. And then Yuri Tilleman's gone. João Gomez in. Manzambi in. There's been Morgan Rogers going. There's been loads happening. What are your thoughts on the window so far, mate?
Man, I'm super impressed. Like, Villa have dealt the card that's played to them like perfectly. I've said that before, and it's been terrible though. So at the moment, my gut feeling is bringing in people like Manzambi, Gomez is incredible. The people we've been linked to as well. It's always been quite exciting names. We're not like bargain bucket. We're not like wheeling dealing. It's impressive to pull off the Manzambi deal. Was somewhat of a coup for Villa. I think like everyone and their dog thought he was going to Newcastle. Even reading Tanswell's piece, like it was there. All he needed to do was sign his name, and he's joined in the club entirely. I don't think that happens very often. So for Villa to do that is super impressive. He's the player I'm most excited about because I think the sky's the limit for him. He's so impressive at the age he is. For Villa to do that deal the way they did is incredible. It's in a period of time when people are thinking, oh, Rodgers is going, XYZ's going, Watkins is going. Any player you can name could probably go, bar maybe John McGinn is probably the one that you'd have the most faith in staying. Anyone else could go anywhere that puts in a bid, and they choose to go so. So getting the players in that we've had, and the Manzambi deal especially restores the faith, doesn't it? It makes you go, right, whatever happens, Villa can deal with it. They've made a plan, and it might not be that they have a stronger team, but it puts them in the best place possible with what's happened. I think Rodgers going, we all knew would happen. We all knew it'd be somewhat of a blow, but I think that they sprung back from it, and I feel very positive about it. I feel more positive sitting here now than I did probably World Cup time. So yeah, good.
It's I learned from the Grealish side. I've said this a couple of times on the channel already. I learned rule number 1: you just don't fall in love with footballers. It's as simple as that. I think any Villa fan would be happy. Maybe excluding John McGinn. I think any Villa fan would be happy. Not happy, but at peace with anybody who's going to leave Villa. We've learned our lesson. You don't fall in love with players. It's as simple as that. So, and I echo what you say, James. I think the business we've done so far in the window has been good. But now I feel like we're at a bit of a stagnant stage where it's 1 in, 1 out. It feels like we're waiting for that. So I know Estupinan, that's still I don't know what's going on with that. It's gone radio silent. The last I'd heard was Ruben Amorim wants to assess his squad, but we definitely need a reinforcement left back if we definitely do. And I think a right back as well, but that all depends on Nedel Djokovic, doesn't it, of whether he's going to stay. I feel like we've been linked with Sarr, haven't we, from Tottenham? That link has been floating around for the last 24 to 48 hours, which would, solidify us in the middle of the field. The middle of the field is somewhere where I'm feeling pretty comfortable at the minute, James. Obviously, Leon Bailey's report. I feel like Leon Bailey's been close to joining Hull for about 3 months. Honestly, I feel like it's just dragging its heels. What's going on? Are we struggling? I feel like it's dragging its heels a little bit. I don't know if it's the financials. Obviously, he's on good money at Villa. I can't imagine he'll go to Hull on 100 grand a week. I can't see it personally. But I don't know what we're waiting for that to be tied up. But other areas of the pitch, James, in terms of where you think we need to strengthen for the rest of the window, where do you think we need to see our business come in? Obviously, it depends on people leaving. But where do you think we're weak going into our 7 games in August, which one starts today in a pre-season friendly against Indonesian All-Stars? Where do you think we need to do some work in the window, mate?
I think the obvious places are the fullback areas. Luka Dean could seemingly disappear at any time. That leaves you very incredibly dry at left back. And you've always had that conversation about right back. You've always had it that we need another right back. Everyone has said we need another right back for God knows how long. And Matty Cash, God bless him, has carried the burden of being the starting right back forever. Costa couldn't replace him. Goffey couldn't replace him. So, that conversation is going to come up every summer, and maybe this isn't the one we can address it in. Maybe this one's the one we've actually had to keep our powder dry to actually fire in other areas. So I imagine left back's the one. Stupinan was the obvious link. It was the strong link for a while. Like you said, it's gone quiet. Like a few others, Palhinha went quiet and perhaps dead as well. I'm excited to see what they do there because that's an urgent issue. The second Luka Dean goes, and we've like the opposite of Leon Bailey. He's been at PSG since the World Cup final, right? Like he's been on the verge of moving. So excited to see what happens there because again, when you look at Garnacho, Manzambi and Gomes, all 3 of those transfers really impressed me. So I'm excited to see what Villa could do in any area of the pitch where they're forced to do something because I think that's when Alabi will earn his money. And that's where I think Emery has so much grip on the transfers right now, especially after Monchi and what happened on the deadline day last season. I think you're getting his guys in, like the guys, his first choice, not the club's first choice, his first choice, which is it's exciting because we've put so much trust in Emery. He's delivered 20, 30, 40 fold. So I'm excited to see what happens there. But the wild card for me, Ty, is yesterday I was reading. I've been a bit hands off with a lot of Villa news, but I was reading. Evan Gesson won't have to start up front at the Super Cup because Tammy Abraham's back from a shoulder injury. And I was thinking, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like we got no striker? And I was thinking about it. I was thinking, Watkins has went to the World Cup. He's been linked with Fenerbahce. They're happy to receive an offer for Tammy Abraham. Evan Gesson is Evan Gesson. Essentially, you're in a situation where you could have all them 3 going into at least the Super Cup or the new season, or they all go. So all of a sudden, you're looking for star striker, and that's the most exciting position to buy. But for Villa, it worries me because Watkins has served the club so well. Him being sold to meet whatever financial barrier we need to meet would be disappointing. Some would say he needs to move on as well, which I get. Tammy Abraham going would be incredibly disappointing because we've only just bought him for whatever reason and he's going already. Evan Gesson, whatever, give him a chance if he can turn up and do a lot better than last season, fully back him. But if you're in a situation where he's the starting striker because Tammy Abraham's recovering from shoulder injury, Ollie Watkins is recovering from the World Cup, albeit it is a pre-season game. I want to win the Super Cup. I want to win the Super Cup bad, and Evan Gesson better turn into like Peter Whiff if he's starting in that, because then all of a sudden you're looking at striker as this problem position, and I don't want that. I don't want that for Villa.
The striker, It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's I understand that Ollie Watkins can be frustrating to watch at times, but ultimately the bloke's delivered 20 goal contributions a season every season since he's been here. I think he hit it every season. I think there might have been one season, I think, where he might have got 19, but I could be completely making that up as well. But what is the cost to replace 20 goal contributions a season as a striker? And I think the other, I won't call it a problem, but the other thing we have to factor in is, for example, you would expect with the system that we play, if you've got a striker like Ollie Watkins, you'd think the striker playing second fiddle to him would have similar attributes. Well, Tammy Abraham and a striker who's going to do 5 or 10 miles in a game, chasing the ball constantly 24/7, you know, drop him really deep. He's more of a poacher that is in the right place at the right time. He was definitely like that in our championship season. He was always in the right place at the right time and getting goals. But James, I've said it in previous episodes as well that I'm at peace now with, I understand there's a lot of the Villa squad who are at an age where there has to be a decision made of, they sign their final contracts, they get a bumper, and they spend the rest of their days at Villa, or they sail off into the sunset. Or there's a side where you take your heart out of it and just go by the financials and say, this is our last opportunity to get a decent figure for these players as they enter in, you know, their 30s in their career. So this, for me, is a tricky one with the upfront scenario, James. And you know, I've seen articles say that Villa are happy for both to leave, which is like mental when you think about it, to completely change your front line. You know, probably excluding McGinn playing on the right. That's a complete new forward line, which is mental. And obviously the Leon Bailey stuff happening, we've been linked to this Allan guy from Palmeiras who, apart from a compilation, I know nothing about, and I can't imagine many Villa fans do know about really. But it seems that we're going in for a second bid. From what I seen yesterday, from I think it was ESPN Brazil, said that Villa are going to go in again. So we seem keen to be signing up Allan, and I can't wait to be shouting Allan from my seat at Villa Park. Allan, Al. So yeah, on the front line, James, what's your view on that? So do you look at the heart side and say Ezri Konsa, Ollie Watkins, sail off into the sunset, and you know, have your end credits with Aston Villa and spend the rest of your days here? Or do you look at the side of, on decent wage packets, could probably do with some fresh blood in, younger? What's your views on what the right thing to do? Is it the head or the heart? What do you think is the right thing for Villa?
I mean, the right thing to do is almost always not the heart, right? But we love these stories that, you know, there's nothing more you'd want than Ollie Watkins to keep banging them in, retire a villain, but retire somewhat of a legend for what he's done in he lifted the Europa League, beat Gabby's record, thank God. What he's, you know, you want these players to stay. You want all the players you like Tielemans, you wanted him to stay. You know the reality of the situation. You know he's going to do whatever he wants for release course, but the reality is you want these players to stay, be Villa legends, essentially for the seniority of their career, be one club men. Oh no, that's not the, you know, Watkins going to Brentford, but for the main part of their career, be at Villa and retire villains. But they're very good players. Eyes are on them all the time. Villa, due to the fairness or unfairness of whatever new financial rule is placed upon them, FEP, squad cost, PSR, all of that rubbish. The right thing to do is accept. Look, we're always at our spending limit because we're trying to break this glass ceiling. We're always going to be at the spending limit. We have to consistently sell our best players and replace them. And I think for the most part, we've proven we can do that. Like the Grealish stuff was a wobble. Ings, Bailey, and Buendia to replace him somewhat worked. Like Bailey, Ings, Buendia all contributed to this journey in their own way.
Yeah.
But getting Rodgers in, for example, we bought Rodgers for what? Pennies on the pound compared to what he sold for. That's incredible. Rodgers came. He didn't come from nowhere. He was highly rated. He was incredibly highly rated during loan spells at Lincoln before that as well. Before he moved to us from Borough, people knew Morgan Rodgers and they liked Morgan Rodgers. But we got him, And I think that quality is a bound for anyone to see. Um, in all sorts of leagues, whether it be the Championship, League One, Serie A. There's always undervalued players at high-performing second-tier clubs that will do a job. And we found Morgan Rogers and he fit a role, and it was really good. What Morgan Rogers delivered in, it feels like he was here forever, 2.5 seasons, if that. Brilliant.
It did feel like longer. It did.
I feel when we go back to that frontline conversation, Brian Madger really, he's the big name in pre-season.
Major
Looks really, really impressive. From you can't tell nothing from these games. Like I remember Chris Samba looking like Beckenbauer against Halford, and Callum O'Hare looking like Lionel Messi, and it feels real in those moments when they're killing it in pre-season games. But 38 plus 12 whatever Champions League games and cup games and everything is a long old time to look really, really good and deliver consistently. But Brian Madger looks like he's at that upper Championship level at like 17, which is that's incredible. That's incredible. There's strikers or your Dwight Yales of the world didn't break that ceiling at like gone 30. So his potential's incredible. Therefore, to see, as I'll repeat it, if Villa can, fix the issue of his work permit and his registration before, I think it's January, you can play, right?
Yeah.
Then that goes a long way to solving some issues. I don't think he's going to come in and be Premier League level striker, but it gives you a high potential body to play.
Coming on at 70 minutes, a unit like that. Imagine you're a centre back and you're blowing at 70 minutes, and then they bring on Lukaku and Haaland's love child. Like,
yeah, it's the instincts.
It's scary, but not for us.
It's the instincts he has as well. The way you can have the big body and you can have the strength, you can have the power, the pace, and all the stereotypes that we make of certain strikers. But it's the instincts. Like he knows where to put himself. He puts himself in the most awkward positions on defenders' bodies all the time. It's like when you're walking past a door handle and you get caught. He's always in that corner of the defender's body and spitting off them. And it's, you can't teach what he's doing, which is, look, I say he's an upper level Champions League striker at the moment. He could eclipse that in seconds. He could go down. These players, you have to trust that they'll develop. Louis Barry didn't develop as we wanted. Maybe he didn't get the game time here to develop as he wanted. But with Brian Madger, I think it's a lot different. And I'm excited to see what comes of him at Villa, because he looks immediately like he could be very, very special. And maybe that's what Villa are thinking when they're talking internally about this striker situation that we have decided to worry about. Maybe they're not worried because they know, look, there's one guy here who we think is going to be special. Maybe we give him time.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of youngsters who look good, Madou Cisse, he's looked good in pre-season. He's had a solid season in the Austrian Bundesliga, played a full season of games, which I think he needed. He's only 20 years old. Obviously you're going to expect Pau and Ezri to be in the middle, but then coming off those, you've got Cisse, Lindelof and Mings. So it's if one of those two were to get injured long term, it's whether Villa think that those three are adequate. Now, I have absolutely no problem with all three of those as backups, a bit of rotation, maybe some fresh legs at 70 minutes, whatever. Lindelof, we know, became the best CDM in world football towards the latter part of the season, especially that game against Forest. He was like a Patrick Vieira regen, man. I was like, yo, Lindelof's coming in at CDM. He was so good in that game. Defensively, we'll touch upon it briefly, Jamo. Do you think, in terms of centrally in defence, do you think we've got enough there? We've got Pau and Ezri. Hopefully, Arsenal will be preparing a bid for another season or two with Ezri, so his contract will probably be up by the time they actually try and get him. Do you think we're strong enough centrally in defence?
I think at the moment, yeah, like you could always look to upgrade. If you're playing FIFA or Football Manager, you're always going to look at upgrading the lowest minimum rated player in your starting 11, aren't you? You're always going to look at upgrades. But it's real life. Villa don't have the headroom to even possibly think about upgrading a part of the pitch where, on their day, Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa are their Rolls Royce defenders. They're ball players, exceptionally strong, exceptionally smart. Yeah, sometimes they get rolled, but I think being a centre back is probably the hardest position in football. I think the amount of focus, skill, ability, the temperament, mentality, all of those things. Any little thing you can think about being difficult, a centre back's got to excel at. They've got to excel at their ball skills, everything. And especially, when you got strikers like Haaland breathing down your neck. Only 2 games a season, albeit, but the quality in the Premier League, the pace of the Premier League, when you watch any other game, it's crystal clear. So I think Villa centre backs fine. I think if you have to go to Mings, Cisse, Lindelof as your backups, even worst case scenario, Kamara has to fill in when he's fit.
Yeah,
you went through 4 quality people to get to that point. They could probably find upgrades. They don't have the money. If Konsa goes, this conversation changes. He needs to be replaced. You need someone of equal or with the potential to become Ezri Konsa. You cannot just lose the importance of him. But that's a position. I'm not scared of those positions at all. I don't think they're problems. I don't think Villa centre backs have been problems for a while, like a long time. Goalkeeper is always going to be in the air because Martinez, he can say what he wants on the top of a bus in Birmingham, but he was really jonesing for that Manchester United move, right? Like everyone knows that, and he can say what he wants.
Or I'm in big trouble. I prefer not to speak.
Exactly. Goalkeeper is always going to be a big rumour every season. But Martinez is Martinez. He'll do what he wants on the day. If he doesn't get what he wants, he seems to adapt well. Like he came back at Villa despite people singing Marco Pisa, the world's #1 at him in his first game back. But yeah, the defensive, apart from the fullbacks, as we already mentioned, not too fussed, not too worried.
Now, as we wrap up the episode, James, something I get predictions for the season off our guests. Now, I want you to take something into consideration before you make it a season prediction. Okay, so I'm going to get some cup, how far you think we'll go in each cup of the league. Now, one thing I want you to bear in mind, everyone's saying it's going to be a difficult season for Villa. I agree. However, one thing I want you to take into account, James, is there's 9 teams, nearly half of the league have a congested schedule. Assuming they do well, the quality of the Premier League is not light years above every other league, but I mean, in terms of 20 teams in each league, obviously I know other leagues have other amounts, but in terms of if you did 20 matches of Premier League versus other leagues versus 20 matches in other leagues, what I'm getting at is I expect the 9 teams that have qualified for Europe all to have, I'd say 7 of them to have good campaigns, right? Which is heavy schedules. Now, we're not the only one who's going to have a heavy schedule this year. Nearly half of the bloody league has. And Chelsea aren't one of them. So I expect Chelsea to be flying in the league this season. If Chelsea fail this season like that, I don't want to hear anything about Chelsea ever again because they haven't got European football. So me veering off with my crazy brain, your season predictions, James, 9 teams playing European football who are going to have congested schedules that may have decent runs in European football. Where do you see? So we'll go with your Premier League prediction, James. Where do you think Villa are going to finish in the Prem?
I think 5th. And that's not negative on Villa. That is because I think Chelsea.
I don't think that's a negative.
I think they've got a free hit. Chelsea have essentially to run at the title. Like if they're good enough, Xabi Alonso's class. You don't buy Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck on the wages that they're going to be on, simply to not do anything with them. And they've been brought in for a reason. It's win now or lose forever, in my opinion.
They need some senior voices in the dressing room. It's a great decision from them, really, to get some to get some senior figures in. I think it'll be massive for them to have Welbeck and Henderson on board.
And with the fine they've had, I'll be Abramovich related. With the UEFA considerations they're under, I do feel like they've realised they have to win now. Not necessarily the title. You've got to finish top 3 in the Premier League and bag a lot of money and then get that Champions League revenue back in. Otherwise, the project it stutters. Or are Chelsea allowed to stutter? Will UEFA actually fine them? But judging from the transfers, it feels quite serious. So, putting it all on Morgan Rogers as well to come in, I really feel like they're in win now mode and they've got an extremely serious manager. So we'll see what happens there. But I think if you look at, you don't really look at how well Villa do, which is unfortunate for them. You look at if one of them idiot former top 6 clubs decides to actually wake up again. So essentially Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, that's 3 places really that were spoken for, that Villa and Newcastle took. But Villa, I think 5th, and that's not because of like the squad moving or the congested season fixture list. It's because I trust Emery. Like he's a brilliant manager. He's a brilliant man manager. He can sort out a game as well. He'll live off this until the day I die. But the PSG game, the 2 fixtures, what we did there was incredible. And I think when I think of Emery, I think the man when his back is against the wall fights, and he fights hard. Some of the stuff we pulled off under him. And I mean, you do have games like the FA Cup semi-final against Palace where we've collapsed seemingly under no pressure for no reason. But probably one of the more important games in our history. I'll always look back at that and think, yeah, he's got my backing forever. So I trust him. I trust him to guide us to 5th in a congested schedule. And I'll snap your hand off for that. Like, with what could happen, I would take that right now, especially with Champions League football.
Okay, FA Cup.
FA Cup.
Fancy a day on the green, do you, my mate, at Wembley?
I don't think we'll go far in the FA Cup. I think that's when your congested schedule really eats you. I think we had an opportunity this year and we blew it, albeit it was a mad game. We'll see what happens, but I see 4th round maximum. And that's not slacking off Villa. That is, their priorities will be league and
Champions League.
And then if they were to win a domestic cup, I think it's the League Cup. So
and how are we going to do in the Carabao, mate? How are we going to do?
We're going to win that. Yeah, we're going to win that.
Yes, come on,
we're going to win that.
That's
I think
mate.
That's early season games. You get through the tricky kind of random preseason ones, the ones where anything could happen. Then I think that falls at a time that's stronger for Villa, rather than considering another cup run in the FA Cup. I rate the FA Cup more, obviously, everyone does. But I want Villa to win as many trophies as possible, and I think the League Cup is the easiest opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Amen for the win there, James. And the Champions League, the creme de la creme, my friend. There we go into the Champions League.
I think we maxed out a quarter-final.
You're not the first to say that, mate. You're not the first. It all depends on who we get.
Like we fought for our life against Paris, and we just didn't do it.
What a game, though. What a game.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, like Emery would dine off that forever. In our hearts and our minds. But the teams are scarily good. Like every time Villa suffers, they can buy whoever they want. And anytime Villa suffers losing a player, it's one of their Champions League opponents who's going to probably be snapping them up. I think we got a shot. It depends on the draw. If you get Real Madrid or someone second round, if we were unlucky enough to get a Real Madrid or Paris in that first knockout round or the second knockout round, whatever, it's over, isn't it? Essentially. Yeah. I'm a dreamer. I love it. Realistically, we put everything on the line to beat Paris, and we couldn't make it over the line. I'd love to think we could do it again. Look at the draw will get us to quarter final. Anything could happen if we get through that. But yeah, if we get the draw that Villa will probably get, we'll just have, it's going to be fight for your life every knockout game, I think.
100%. James, I can't thank you enough for coming on today, especially at short notice. I say this at every episode. Sometimes I feel like I say it in anyway. I say it short notice, but if I've give someone like 2 weeks notice, for me that's short notice. But with you, James, it was yesterday. It was fancy recording tomorrow morning. You were like, yes, because James has currently got a weird working schedule, so it's hard to time up. So thank you for coming on, James. I'm sure you will be loved in the comments, as rightly as you should be, because you are very passionate and very good with your words. And I think it's something that you should absolutely always do. You should always write about Villa because you are ridiculously talented. So, James, thank you for coming on the channel. It is my pleasure to have you on here. I'm sure I'll have you on at some point during the season too, James. I'm sure our paths will cross again, and no doubt we'll probably do some Villa Social stuff as well. In that time as well, speaking of Villa Social, Rollo has sent me 5 minutes and 10 seconds worth of voice notes. Split into 2. Has he sent you voice notes as well? Okay, I'm not gonna. I know what that is. If you've had the same, then I know what that is.
I've had 2 minutes. I've had 2 minutes. So I don't have a lot. I don't have as much as you, but you. Yeah.
So instead of him sending one, so I've had a 3 minutes 40 and then a 1 minute 51.
Yeah, I think I just got 2 minutes. So.
But is he just spending his morning? Do you think he puts in his calendar like send voice notes to the boys? But I know what that's about. But I know we can't talk about it yet. But yeah, James, silly me going off topic as always. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. Excited to have you on again, mate. And yeah, you absolutely should keep writing, mate, because you are unreal at what you do. So thank you to everybody who stayed till the end. If you are enjoying the content, if you could like and subscribe, all that cringy nonsense that you say at the end of a YouTube video. But from myself, Ty Bracey, and James Rushton, thanks for joining us today, and up the Villa.